Welcome to Inside Badger Nation on Madison CW. Now your hosts, Ben Wargle and Phil Dawson.
Welcome into another edition of Inside Badger Nation. Phil Dawson from the Big 1070 with you, as well as Ben Wargle from BadgerNation.com, editor and publisher of the magazine as well. And we have another huge show for you today, like always, including chance to introduce you to the brand new running backs coach at the University of Wisconsin, Thomas Brown. Have some recruiting updates for you, including jumping in on that Poly pipeline a little bit. We'll tell you more about that. But of course, Ben, we do have to start with Badger basketball because they have been on a roll as they took out two really good teams on the road and then got a big win against Indiana earlier this week. Starting with going to Michigan, of course, beating them, and then the next one on the schedule, Iowa. It was back-to-back road games. They did wire-to-wire against Michigan, holding on to victory the entire way. And then against Iowa, they were able to withstand the counterpunch that the Hawkeyes delivered in that second half. The Badgers trailed. They had to fight back. They did, and they got their fifth win in a row with that one.
Yeah, 8 lead changes over the final 11 minutes. And this was a game, too, that you just felt Iowa was just trying to take control of. I mean, you see a number of opportunities here where Iowa builds a lead, and then slowly but surely Wisconsin air with a counterpunch. Josh Gosler there with a huge three-pointer. Nigel Hayes had a big three-point play in this game that could have gone either way. Josh Oglesby right there was just on fire on those rub screens that he had. He
15
just hit
of
those,
his 17 points in the second
without
half.
question. But this was the big play here, too, with Kaminsky down low. Wisconsin has really asserted its low post presence over the last several weeks. This was another big play, too. Kaminsky challenging on the three-point attempt, gets Wisconsin an opportunity to win that basketball game. And just a tremendous game, too, also for Bronson Koenig. Coming off the bench, he comes in the game averaging just 2 points in 12 minutes in conference play, but plays 23 minutes of turnover-free basketball. Just as important, which you don't see, he helped generate points early. First 7 minutes, 8 points. He helped Wisconsin make 12 of its first 15 shots.
Yeah, Frank Kaminsky also goes 21-7 in that one. Sam Decker had his fifth double-double of the year. So a big road win, back-to-back road wins as they took out Michigan and then they take out Iowa. Now, then they come back home to take on Indiana, and what do the Hoosiers do earlier this season? They stopped that 16-0 start that they had, put them on the spiral, losing 5 of their next 6, but that wasn't going to happen at the Kohl Center. Why? Well, a lot of the same things we've been talking about. Ice-cold shooting throughout the first half, but they absolutely destroy Indiana in the second half. What was the final score? You saw the final score there, but they scored 50 points in the second half, Ben, after scoring just 19 in the first.
How can one team shoot 25.9% and score just 19 points in the first half and then turn around and put up 50 points on almost 62% in the final 20 minutes? So where is confidence? And Ben Bruss said, Sam Decker said it, that this team knows it can play, it knows it can shoot, and it knows that the opportunities are going to come there. As you can see there a lot in the first half, just open shots that Wisconsin just is not hitting. But Wisconsin has to be a nice, close-knit bunch in order to put forth the kind of effort it did on Tuesday night. You know, they flipped a 10-point halftime deficit to a 15-point lead in the final 4 minutes. You know, a 25-point swing that really put the Kohl Center on blistering volume levels. It really was a tremendous shooting performance in the second half. Everyone chipped in, especially Ben Bruss. I mean, here's a guy who had missed 16 of his last 17 three-pointers, hits 3 big ones in the second half for Wisconsin.
Yeah, Noah Vonleh, who not in right now, but had a big game against Frank Kaminsky, took him out just a little bit there. Trey Jackson did a real good job in transition, more so in the second half, being able to hunt his shot and find it. But this is a team that didn't have the offensive mojo going in the first half, and once they found that, and it was something that I think we know, that they were able to stay in this game despite being down 10 points because the defense had to be there, and it kept them in it to a point, but you knew that Wisconsin was going to have an opportunity because the defense would be there. The offense is just too good to keep down, and everybody contributing in that second half.
Well, as you see from the first half highlights, Wisconsin had a good ball movement. I mean, they're touching the post, they're kicking it out to the open shooter, but they missed 20 of their 27 shots. It just was one of those things where it was just a weird shooting half for Wisconsin. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Northwestern game. Another one, too. Trayvon Jackson has a drive to the paint and just slips. loses an opportunity to score and goes the other way. It's just one of those weird halves where Wisconsin, everything that seemed to go wrong did. But then when you get to the second half and you see how all those shots look very similar to what they had in the first half, except they went down. The one big difference too, Wisconsin drove the paint better. You saw in the first half they kind of were driving from the perimeter. The second half, and Tom Crean said this after the game too, they kind of went in from the wings a little bit more and really was able to just early in that half dominate presence. Gosser and Jackson both attacked the lane from the wings, resulting in easy layups in the first 2 possessions. Decker converted 2 free throws after crashing the glass, and then Decker, too, had a wide-open three-pointer after Gosser drove in the lane, kicked it out. Those were shots Wisconsin wasn't making in the first half.
And these 2 drives you just saw here, Jackson and Gosser, right from the get-go, got them going, and then it opened up things for Ben Brust and the three-point shooting. And is that something that Badger fans should be worried about, that still the reliance of the 3 to either get them away, take them away, or into games should be a concern?
I don't think so. There's the Decker 3 I was talking about. It's just one of those things where Wisconsin's got so many shooters now on this team that they can be balanced, that they can do different things. I think Frank Kaminsky, his post-dominance the last several weeks, has been important for Wisconsin to really stretch out the offense.
All right, that's on the hardwood. We go to the gridiron next. Introduce you to a brand new Badger coach. It was on National Signing Day that we here at IBN found out that Thomas Hammock, Wisconsin running back coach, had been hired by the NFL off to the Baltimore Ravens. And while he may be dealing with his own issues, the Badgers had to deal with one of theirs, replacing him. He's been a great running backs coach here and has a stable of running backs that are very, very good, including the return of Melvin Gordon this year. Well, the Badgers made that hire, and they dipped into the SEC, they dipped into Georgia, and guess who they found? Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown from Atlanta, Georgia, coming from Marshall University, running backs coach. It's an unbelievable place. I'm really excited about it. This is Tailback U. I'm glad they're excited about being a running backs coach here. Got a chance, like you said, to work with my guys this morning, and very talented group, very coachable. So I'm just trying to make sure I bring my A game every day.
I like him a lot. He's got a lot to bring to the table. He's a younger guy that, he played all 4 years in college at Georgia and got an opportunity in the league. So I know he's got plenty to bring to the table, and good first morning workout with him.
I think he's going to coach hard. I think it'll be no different. Like I said, it'd be drills or a little different things like that. He may switch up. He probably coach a little different, but just the mentality. I think he's gonna. He told me already he's gonna try to push us, as hard as he can. And I think that's what you have to do here as a running backs coach.
Right. Well, the most exciting thing as a coach is you have guys who can do everything you ask them to do, and that makes me instantly a better coach than I already am. Having talented guys, but I think we have a chance to be the best backfield in the country, and I really do mean that. I'm do everything I can to make sure I prepare those guys and simplify the game as much as possible, add my little flavor to it. They've already been well coached in the past and experienced guys, have a lot of tape and been in a lot of situations, but I just want to add my two piece to it from a former player and now turned coach and get those guys going.
Melvin, Corey, and myself were part of the interview process, and we got to talk with him a little bit and hear his story, and kind of got a little bit. I didn't really know much about him before that, and after that did a little bit of research and just kind of liked what we saw, and here we go working out with him now, and things are looking good.
First thing he did was ask us questions about, us and our family and things like that, and that kind of really stuck out to me, because it wasn't just about football with him, so that was the big thing with me.
Well, I'm extremely aggressive. I'm a competitive guy. I believe in filling a room with a bunch of talented guys who continue to push each other. So I know as a self-motivated person that I was and still am, I need others around me to push me to get to that next level. So I believe in breeding an environment of success, but also having fun. Football is a tough game as it is, and you got to make sure you're enjoying it and having fun, because I think at this level, it's too difficult if you're not having fun with it. I was hoping and praying that somehow, some way I was going to get a phone call and at least get the opportunity to get in front of these guys and interview. And when that call came, I was a little bit stunned for a minute. Coach Ludd called me on the phone and kind of paused for a second, just trying to make sure this wasn't a prank call. But it's definitely a great place, and as the running backs coach, there's no better place in America to be.
Is brand new Wisconsin running backs coach Thomas Brown. Certainly seemed laid back right there. Pretty nice individual. And again, one of the things that jumps out to me, Ben, is certainly how Wisconsin, we've talked about on this show, recruiting Georgia. Well, here's a guy with direct ties to the SEC, direct ties to Georgia. He played there and did even more than that, and I suppose this is going to be the guy that's going to be kind of posted up down there on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, this was a hire that Wisconsin certainly wanted to make, not just to bring in a good running back coach, but bring a guy with those SEC ties, because you look at the state of Georgia and what Wisconsin did in the last recruiting class, you get two really good players in Jeremy Patterson and Crenwick Sanders. And I think going forward, Gary Anderson said on National Signing Day that Wisconsin wanted to have a presence full-time in Georgia. And now Thomas Brown obviously played 4 years at Georgia, beat Wisconsin in the Outback Bowl many years ago with his running game. And you look at his career, drafted in the 6th round by the Atlanta Falcons, spent a year on the Georgia strength and conditioning staff. So he has the ties there. Spent a year at Marshall last year as well, recruited the state of Georgia, brought 9 natives from Georgia to Marshall. And one of the key things I think you're going to look at is what can Wisconsin do to really benefit that area. And how you get into that area, you bring a guy who knows the area, is a household name in Georgia because of plays like this against Tennessee, to really connect with those kids. He's a young guy too, in his late 20s, so he's going to be able to relate to the families. He's going to have that self-motivated desire, and I think you can definitely see that on that video that was graciously given to us by UWBadgers.com.
Right, certainly. And what does the loss of Thomas Hammock mean, though? Because this is a guy who's a recruiting coordinator and did a lot of things, all over the place, right? And this is a guy who made big strides in getting kids like a Melvin Gordon, a James White, or a Monte Ball to believe that it's okay to be in that 1 to 2 back system.
Well, until I think we actually see Thomas Brown, I think you really don't know what the impact is going to be. I think also, too, with Hammock, he was instrumental in keeping Corey Clement committed to Wisconsin, because that whole coaching upheaval that went through with all the assistants leaving and the head coach leaving and things like that, Clement stayed solid to Wisconsin because of that relationship with Thomas Hammock. And you go into Georgia to build a relationship with a Crenwick Sanders, with a Jeremy Patterson. Thomas Hammock finds Caleb Kinlaw. He looks at Taiwan Deal in Maryland to really help Wisconsin get into a really good high school that produces 8 to 10 Division I players every year. So until we see Thomas Brown go through a full recruiting cycle, I don't think we really know the impact. All we know is that Wisconsin has been able to overcome this before. John Sell was a great running back coach. You bring in Thomas Hammock, who had some connections to the university a little bit, was from the Midwest, was able to go in different areas and really recruit hard. I think Thomas Brown's a good hire. Remains to be seen. Can he get those same kids in Georgia that maybe those other SEC schools want as well? That'll be the fun thing to watch.
All right, we'll keep our eye on it, and you'll keep an eye on next what the Badgers have in their pipeline as we look at some of the new recruits. Welcome back to Inside Badger Nation. Phil and Ben with you, and Ben taking a look at some new prospects, some new offers for the Wisconsin football team, and let's get you right into it as we take a look and we head down to Florida with some personal connections to this year's recruiting class. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Javaris Davis?
Yeah, without question, this is a guy who's listed as a running back, but Wisconsin probably likes him on the secondary side of the ball, probably at the cornerback safety position. A guy who can do so many things really well. 900 yards and 70 carries last year, but at cornerback, 26 tackles, 10 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions. Probably the position that he's going to be good at. But you look at the film of a kid who at running back, you see him in different positions, you just look for different things. How does he move? The speed, the quickness, just be able to adjust, on cuts and different things like that, because you don't know where the wide receiver is going to go. And he has good vision and can see things really well. And, rated a 3-star prospect by us, and he was recruited by safeties coach Bill Bush. Probably since the 10th grade, Wisconsin's been in touch with him. And you mentioned, the connection, quarterback DJ Gillens and him are cousins. Gillens has been telling him a lot about Wisconsin. Ooh. Finally got that offer this past Monday, and Davis holds 20 offers early in his recruitment. Mentions that Alabama's looking at him, Clemson, Miami, Georgia, Oregon, so a lot of those big power schools in Division I college football right now. But he still is working without a top list. He wants to see Wisconsin. I imagine DJ Gillens is going to be heavily involved in this recruitment. And, Wisconsin's still looking to add speed, add agility, add some athleticism to their secondary. And you saw that with the last recruiting class, the number of DBs they went after. And even though this class is much smaller, the emphasis is going to be on recruiting Florida, Georgia, and the Southeast and different parts of the country as well to find this type of speed that Javaris Davis has.
Yeah, great film right there. All he does is break big old runs. And here he goes again. Look at him go, long striding his way. Very nice. That's Javaris Davis. Keep an eye on him, BadgerNation.com. Also, how about we go out west, but there's a close-to-home connection as well as we talk about Khalil McKenzie. Now, the name itself may be familiar to some Green Bay Packers fans.
Yeah, without question. His father is current Oakland Raiders GM, Reggie McKenzie, who obviously did some great things with the Green Bay Packers. And Cahill lived in Wisconsin almost his entire life before his dad got the GM job in Oakland, and obviously transitioned out there to a very good high school, which some people may look familiar, De La Salle, home of Bart Houston, former player out there now with Wisconsin. 6'4", 305, big body for De La Salle on the defensive line. Naturally strong athlete. You can just see that he's grown up around NFL players and NFL kind of environment, that he has those type of skills at such an early young age. And he can take on double teams. He can still collapse the pocket when multiple guys are on him. Already good with his hands. He continues to improve. Has a chance to be a very good player at the next level. I would give you his offer list, but it adds like by 2 or 3 every day. He has just been having a monster spring with the amount of schools that have offered him. Luckily, though, Wisconsin was in on him early. Wisconsin, Gary Anderson's staff offered him this past October on an unofficial visit to the campus. And, I think Wisconsin is going to be a player in his recruitment just because he obviously loves the state of Wisconsin, grew up with the Packers, with the Badgers and different things like that. It's going to be tough because he just has so many offers and opportunities, but it's hard to turn away from the home kind of crowd. And Wisconsin's always talked about finding non-Wisconsin Wisconsin kids in non-Wisconsin places, and Cahill McKenzie certainly fits that billing.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting too because right now they're looking for that replacement for a Bo Allen, and this guy may fit the mold for exactly what a Dave Aranda is looking for. Maybe even bigger and more athletic in the kind of body size and shape and athleticism that he does have. Meanwhile, one more as we talk about the Poly Pipeline. We told you about it during National Signing Day, and actually it was Coach Chad who told us about it. But it's real. It's happening. Let's go to Hawaii with Braden Feoko.
Yeah, Braden's got 3 older brothers who play Division I football, and he's the best of the group, without question. You look at him, 6'3", 205, moves all over the defensive line, but he probably is more of an inside guy. You talk about that Bo Allen future guy. This could be him. Certainly relies on his incredibly quick first step to get up the field. You can see it on that play with the interception and pick 6. Great flexibility, shows high-level closing speed, just an aggressive player, superior strength and a great motor on the inside of the defensive line. A guy who, like you said, he can play multiple positions and does a really solid job. Nice. Creates plays, creates tackles for loss, creates fumbles, creates turnover opportunities for the defense. Wisconsin head coach Gary Anderson saw him last summer at the All-Poly camp out in the islands, offered him in person, which was a big plus for Braden to get that one-on-one interaction and give him the impression that everything Anderson does was going to benefit Wisconsin in the future. Micah Kapoy talked to him on National Signing Day. He says, it was important for him to come to Wisconsin to open up that Poly Pipeline. So when these kids, if Braden decides to take a visit to Wisconsin, Wisconsin has a guy, a Hawaiian kid, who made the choice to move from Hawaii 4,000 miles to Wisconsin, and can talk about the changes in the culture and the climate and all the different things he had to go through. And hopefully Micah Kapoy thrives at Wisconsin to be that poster child that a guy from Hawaii can make it at Wisconsin, can make that transition really smoothly.
One thing you don't see very often on defensive lineman film that you're seeing a lot of here for Braden Feoko, the sheer speed. He's stepping through and around and slipping blockers, and just look at him go. Very fast, very active, and athletic. All right, that's it for our recruiting segment here on Inside Badger Nation. We do have our email of the week coming to you next, so stick around for that right here on IBN. We invite you to check us out on YouTube. It's a brand new hip internet station with videos, including ours. Just go to Inside Badger Nation in your little search bar there. Plus, follow us on Twitter, whatever that is, @InBadgerNation. You can find us there. Now, we'll keep you up to date on what's happening with the program. And of course, you can email us. Email question of the week, courtesy of 608 Restaurant and Bar, where 608 is more than just an area code. That's at 212 State Street. So go check them out, and we thank them for our email question of the week. This one comes courtesy of Jeff in Waukesha, who asks, how many losses can Wisconsin afford to have down the stretch and still open the NCAA tournament in Milwaukee? That's a good question, Jeff. I'm going to leave this one to you, Ben, because really, where they want to be in Milwaukee is like a 2 seed, right? That's maybe as high as they can go. But can they suffer 1, 2 more losses? How does the tournament, what does that entail in the Big Ten for potentially dropping out of that regional happening there?
I think you have to avoid losses in your next two games at Penn State and then at home against Purdue next Wednesday. I think those two teams, because of their low RPI, they got RPI in the 100s, those could be a potential damaging loss to Wisconsin. They finished the season at Nebraska, a week from this Sunday, and you look at that Nebraska team, very, very good at home. I mean, I think they're 12-1, 13-1 at home, and they have an RPI that's top 50. In Wisconsin, you look at their resume, 8 top 50 RPI wins on a 6-game winning streak, 7-2 against teams currently ranked in the top 25. So we're even having this discussion where, considering where they were a month ago, really kind of is amazing. But the big thing is the Big Ten tournament. I think it all depends on that matchup that they're going to have either Thursday if they don't get a bye, or Friday if they do get a bye. Friday, they're probably going to play maybe a top 25 team again. You don't know who it could be. It could be maybe in Iowa, it could be in Minnesota. Whoever it is, it's probably going to be a good RPI game for Wisconsin. If you win that game and you close the stretch here 2-1, you win those two games against Penn State and Purdue. Maybe you suffer a setback in Nebraska. Still not a horrible loss. If you go 1-1 in the Big Ten tournament, or you get to the Big Ten final, I think that's enough for Wisconsin to be a top 9 seed in the NCAA tournament, be a 2 or 3, and then get seeded probably in Milwaukee. So a lot of wiggle room for the Badgers. I think you avoid a damaging loss against Indiana on Tuesday. So I think Wisconsin's in good shape to play in Milwaukee, probably with either 1, maybe 2 losses, depending on who they go to.
Boy, and you talked about the resume that they've built. It's so impressive. 10-2 away from home this year, which is just so incredible. And if the season ended today, at least as of this taping, I think they'd have wins over 5 teams that would be their conference champions or finish atop their conference right now. That is impressive, including the number 1 team in the land, Florida, who they took out earlier this season. The other thing about this Wisconsin basketball team, how about getting set for this Penn State basketball team? What do they bring? What's going to be the challenge taking on DJ Newble and the Penn State Nittany Lions?
Yeah, Newble, arguably their best player across the board, over 17 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, close to 2 assists. Tim Frazier too, another good player, 16.6 assists a game. But you look at Penn State's record, bottom half of the Big Ten, actually right at the bottom of the Big Ten, and one of only 2 sub-500 teams in the conference right now. Just kind of shows the depth this conference has. But look at the Nittany Lions earlier in January, back-to-back wins against Nebraska at home, and then they go to Ohio State for kind of a shocking overtime win. Against the Buckeyes. Without question, Penn State's best win. So that the Nittany Lions can deliver a punch, and Wisconsin saw that last year too in the regular season finale where Trayvon Jackson needed a deep 3-pointer in State College to win that game at the buzzer. So Wisconsin, certainly this is kind of one of those, I don't know if you can call it a trap game, but certainly a game where Wisconsin needs to be on its P's and Q's, because this is an important win, because like I said with the RPI, you got to avoid bad losses late in the season, because that really will affect your seeding, and Wisconsin obviously too still playing for a chance to win the Big Ten title.
How about the one thing that keeps this team rolling through the Penn State, through the rest of the season, and through the Big Ten tournament? One thing.
Post presence. I think Wisconsin, their turnaround here the last month has been their domination in the post with Nigel Hayes and Frank Kaminsky. That's got to continue.
All right, we'll see if it does keep up, and that's going to do it for us. We will talk to you next week here on Inside Badger Nation.